Hey page turners. Today's video is going to be about my not my April TBR video, but all the books I read in April video. Hey guys, Jeannie here, and welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, hi, welcome, glad to have you. Today's video is all about the books I read in April. Alright guys, so hear me out. So if you've seen my April TBR, you know that your girl was mighty ambitious in that TBR. I did manage to read a lot of the books that I really did want to read. I read 5 books in April. I don't know why, but I could have sworn it was more than that. But you know what? Whatever. I read 5 books. I'm happy with that. And let's find out what books I read in April. So one of the books I read in April is A Court of Thorns and Roses by Sarah J. Maas. If you guys seen my April TBR video, you would know that this was a reread for me, and I was very excited to dive back into this world. For the synopsis to all of the books I mentioned in this video, just click up above. I will have the link somewhere above here, wherever YouTube puts it. And you can check out the synopsis for these books. I figured, why go through the whole process of repeating all the synopsises again when I could just link the video where I share all the synopsis and just talk about the book, right? Talk about how I felt about the book. I absolutely love The Court of Thorns and Roses, and I am so excited about being in this world again. I still thoroughly enjoyed it. I still really like Farah and all of the other characters in this story. But just to let you know, I did read this one, and I read A Court of Mist and Fury, and I read about halfway through A Court of Wings and Ruin. So basically I know what's to come, at least from what most of the stuff that I remember. Because I did read this back in, I believe it was 2016 or 2017. And it was so nice to see that a lot of the emotions I felt the first time I read this happened again, where I was really liking Tamlin and really enjoying seeing how his relationship and Farah's blossomed and grew into this like nice little thing. Because if you're not fully aware of A Court of Thorns and Roses, it's actually a Beauty and the Beast retelling. I know some people, they're like, no, not really. But I can definitely see a lot of Beauty and the Beast references in this one. Although what I will say is that as the series continues, that kind of goes out the window. So just be prepared. I remembered, of course, a lot of things that happened. I still love Lucian. Reese, in this one, I have like this love-hate relationship with him, because I felt like he was just such an a-hole, okay? I really felt that in this one, Rhysand was so annoying at times. At least the little bits that we got of him. However, towards the end, I started to grow more of a bond with him. Me being the person that loves the misunderstood character and the sarcastic, cocky type characters in the story. Well, he was definitely my cup of tea, okay? And I absolutely loved him. But it was very funny to see like that, although I know what's to come, that I was all for Tamlin. And it's so funny to say that. But hey, that's what happened. That's what happened. I was also reminded and so triggered by Nesta and Elaine. I still don't like them, and it was just like so many times I was just like, what is wrong with them? Like, why is she like this with her? Like, somebody just needs to smack her. and who I'm talking about? No one other than Nesta, because I was just like, oh, girl, like, if it wasn't for Farrah, okay, you guys wouldn't have food, you wouldn't have nothing, okay? So you should be giving her prop. But unfortunately, that's not the case, and I was so triggered by that, and I just still can't stand Nesta, okay? Oh, and Elaine, because she's no better. With A Quarter of Thorns and Roses, I still rate it a 5-star. It's definitely a 5-star read for me. I mean, it's good. It's amazing. If you haven't read it, please pick it up. Don't keep waiting, because it's just such a good book. And since it's a reread, I just know it's worth it. Okay? So just pick it up. So another book I read in April is The Wicked King by Holly Black. Guys, what is all I can say about this one? This one is the second book in the Folk of the Air series. And guys, listen up, okay? I realized that in all my videos where I talk about this series, I kept saying the Folk of Air series. And it's not the Folk of Air series, it's the Folk of the Air series, okay? So let's just, you know, act like the is in all those videos, all right? All right, we're good. So this one is the second book in the Folk of Air. There it goes again. The Folk of the Air series. After the way the first one left off, it was, you know, it left off with this like major cliffhanger. And guess what? This one is no different, okay? It left off with like a whole craziness that went down at the end. I really do love Jude as a character. You know, she's like so vulnerable, yet she's very determined, and she really like wants that power, and she just wants to prove all the Fae, you know, like wrong, and just conquer everything. What I love about her is that she's so like relatable, and I feel like she makes these mistakes, and that's what makes her human. I mean, she is human after all. So what I really enjoy about Jude as a character is that she just does everything unapologetically, and she goes about everything kind of like in a strategic way. And what I mean about a strategic way is that she tries to think like the Fae and be as cunning and as backstabbing as the Fae. However, a lot of times that doesn't always work out for her, or it doesn't always go her way. In this one, we do get to see that quite a bit. Like with the way the ending left off though, I was left like, okay, May needs to come sooner, because I want to find out what happens and what Jude is going to do about everything that went down, you know, like with everybody, with Carden, with Maddox, with like just everybody in this way, with Taryn. It's like I am super excited about continuing this one and finishing up this series, because this is one that I plan to finish this year, and I'm super happy that it's happening. I gave this one 4.5 stars because just the way this story just keeps unfolding and all the betrayals. Oh, so I just live for betrayals. I love betrayals in stories that are executed well and that has me like, wait, what? That happened? And like I said before, even though I kind of figured that Carden was up to something, the thing is that I did not know that he was up to what he was up to, okay? So with that said, I just loved it. Another book that I finished in April is Fury Born by Claire Legrand. So if you've seen my April TBR video, then you know that this one was part of my book club read in my Discord group. I really enjoyed the whole fact of, like, of course, the magic aspects of it, or the little magic aspects that we got from it. So the two characters, which is Queen Raelle and Eliana, I kind of felt like I enjoyed Queen Raelle's story a little more because, of course, I'm always all for like the person that could possibly be the villain in the story, or where I think that they could possibly be a villain or something to that effect. And what I really loved about this one is that right from the beginning, it was like, whoa, this was just thrown at you. There was some action going on, there was some craziness going on. And I love a book that can kind of like hook you in right from the beginning, because you really need to hook me in order for me to continue reading. Or at least it has to be interesting enough that I want to continue to find out more. So with this one, it was kind of like, oh, okay, all right, let's find out who these characters are and what happened. As far as like the magic in this one and the world building, it was just kind of like, meh. In the prophecy, they say that there is a sun queen and a blood queen. So with Queen Raelle having some kind of magical elements, she is put through this trial in which she has to prove to them that she is the possible sun queen that they prophesied. Now, the thing is that with those trials, for me, it just kind of got repetitive, and it just kind of started seeming like it was the same thing, you know. Okay, she's gonna do earth, and then now she's gonna do water, and then now she's gonna do fire. And it was just kind of like, okay, you know, like there was little things that did occur during some of those trials, and this voice starts talking to Queen Raelle, and which is, you know, you could kind of tell that it doesn't have the best intentions. Those were like the little parts of the story that kind of made me like, okay, I might be interested to continue moving on, because I always like side like villain, like trying to gain power and like putting things in your head and all of that kind of stuff. So that was very interesting to me, which is what kept me going, even though after a certain point I kind of started getting bored because of the repetition. The other thing with Queen Raelle that I found very interesting, and it kind of caught me off guard, was the love interest that was in here, and the friend. There was like a moment where it kind of, things got a little bit steamy, just a little bit, not nothing too over the top. And it was so funny because it's like that just like hit you and caught you off guard. As far as the romance, I did feel like it was important in the story because of everything that you find out later on about the two characters and how they're connected. I did enjoy the way the romance kind of played off, even though I did feel like it was a little crazy who the love interest was, and and yeah, the way things led up to other things happening. And as far as Eliana as a character, I felt like she was okay. I really didn't connect too much with her. Like, quite honestly, for both characters, I felt like I didn't really connect with them. I did enjoy Queen Raelle, of course, a little bit more than Eliana, because I just felt like Eliana was kind of like flat, you know, like she's supposed to be like this bounty hunter, and I just kind of felt bored with her and a little annoyed at the same time. So when Eliana's mom goes missing. She goes on this whole mission with a rebel captain and finds out that there's like so much more things about her that she didn't know. And there's so much evil that she wasn't even aware of. I was really like rooting for them because you can kind of see like there was like this enemies type vibe, like they would get at each other. And I was really into those little vibes that they gave off. However, as the story continues, you get to find out more. So because there's so much evil going on that Eliana discovers, she kind of has to question, can she trust the people she thought she could? There was some like action and stuff with Eliana's side of the story, but again, I just felt like I couldn't really connect with her, and she just would really annoy me at times. And what I will say is the way the ending leaves off, it kind of does make me feel like I possibly do want to continue in this series to find out like where it goes and who is the Sun Queen and who is the Blood Queen, and continue seeing how their Queen Rael and Eliana's story comes together. I rated this one a 3-star. I'm looking at it like, even though it wasn't like a horrible read, I would say I fell into like a 3 to a 3.5 star. So it wasn't like a horror, it was just good for me. Okay, like it was okay. And I would like to continue and find out more. Maybe it could just be that I didn't really like the first book. So I think that I did enjoy the story enough to continue on in this series. Now, will I pick it up anytime soon? No. I'm not gonna pick it up anytime soon. I'll probably pick it up like a few months from now, but as far as like continuing into it like right away, no, I'm not gonna continue into it right away. But I do plan on continuing on in this series more further down the line. So another book that I read with my friends in my Discord group, which was the second book pick for the month of April, is They Both Die at the End by Adam Silvera. Okay, so this one I felt was such a good read. It was heartbreaking, and the friendship that the two main characters, which is Rufus and Mateo, build is just touching because, as you can tell by the title, they both die at the end, right? So, hello, I mean, that's not a spoiler. It is in the title, right? So all of this takes place in one day. And what I really loved is that you get to experience all these emotions and the adventures that Rufus and Mateo go through with each other, and the discoveries they make about themselves along the way. And I really love both characters almost equally in a sense, but I did like Rufus more because Rufus, he's like this hardcore, I'm about that life kid who is again misunderstood and probably judged because of the way he carries himself. And I know, reading this in my Discord group, that some of my friends really didn't like Rufus in the beginning. But for me, being that they're both, you know, in New York City, and I understand because I'm from New York City and I could so relate to Rufus, but then I could also relate to Mateo, and that's what I loved about both of them. And with Rufus, it was just like, yes, I understand you. I know why you're like that, and it's okay because you know what? Nobody else likes you. I like you as a character. And as far as like Mateo, what I really loved about Mateo is that he was so selfless, and he was always thinking of others, and he just wanted to make sure that he got around to doing all like the things that was important to him. However, also in that process being nice to others. Like, for example, he gave money to a homeless person, and his attitude about it was kind of like, well, you know what, I'm going to die, so why not just give it and just have them enjoy it, because he's like, well, I don't have no use for this, so you know. Another thing that I felt was like it kept tugging at me, and I knew that Adam was like ripping that band-aid slowly, you know, like that kind of feeling. There was like so many reminders, you know, that it is their end day, and as much as they're like enjoying each other's company and the bond that they are building, it's like, hey, guess what? You know, let me take this picture because I want, you know, others to see that I was happy. Or, you know, like things like that. There was just so many like little reminders to them. For me, like I felt like even though they enjoyed their time together and their adventure and everything they went through in, you know, in that day, it was still like a bummer at the same time, because they just had to constantly be reminded. But that was one thing, and it was more so Mateo, because he's that kind of person who is like scared and, you know, intimidated by things and very careful. And Rufus is the opposite of him. He's like the daredevil. He's the one who, he'll speak his mind. He'll go and beat up that kid if he has to, you know? It was pretty nice to see, you know, each one complement each other. You kind of feel so bad because you go on this journey with these two amazing kids, and you really grow to love them and love that bond and that friendship, you know, like it just sucks. And yes, it does leave you either crying with actual tears, which I didn't have, but I did get like emotional about it and a little sad about it, because I really wish it didn't end the way that it did. But again, we kind of can see that something is going to happen, and even us, we're like, okay, how is it gonna end? Is it gonna end? You know, now what's going on? How, you know, and there's so many possible ways that it can end, and you just left like, oh my god, like what? Another thing that I really enjoyed about this book too is not only do we get to see Rufus and Mateo as the characters, and they're the main characters, of course, but we also get to see like what the other people within this story is thinking. Like, for example, Mateo's best friend, or the lady that called them and let them know, hey, you're dying today. Everybody is connected in some way to them, and you get to kind of see inside their world. And even though it's something like so small, but it all kind of adds up, and it basically leads towards the events that happen in the end. As far as my rating for this one, I did give it 5 stars because I really loved the story behind it. I really loved each character. Like, I really loved Rufus and I really loved Mateo. And even though Mateo had his little moments where he annoyed me, but you know, like, I love those moments because that makes them so human and so relatable, and I just love them. Okay, like I really enjoyed this story, and I would definitely recommend that if you have not read it, pick it up, because it also makes you question certain things about life and death. And yeah, it was just one read that I'm really glad that I finally picked up. The last book I want to talk about that I read in April is Flowers in the Attic by V.C. Andrews. I still love V.C. Andrews, okay? I was very much scared that maybe I could have a change of heart when it came to VC Andrews. And you know what? I really didn't. I still thoroughly enjoyed this story, as heartbreaking and as messed up as it is. I feel so different reading it now as an adult than I did as a teenager. Oh my god, the emotions that I got from this now, it was totally different from my teenage emotions. So, me being a mother and of course an adult now, I was so upset with the mom. I was so upset with the grandmother. I just wanted to like beat the nonsense out of them. Like, you don't even know. I just wanted to serve them all the punches I could and just save those kids because I felt so bad. And I think that's one of the emotions that was definitely so different for me, was because of course as a teenager I didn't have the mom mentality. I didn't have an adult perspective on things. So I kind of felt like as a teenager I could relate to Kathy more. As an adult I kind of just felt so bad for Kathy and Christopher, you know, because they were kind of shoved into playing this adult role of taking care of their two younger siblings and trying to figure out also like how to make them happy. You know, kind of like that parental role where we kind of throw ourselves on the back burner and forget about like taking care of ourselves because we're just so focused on our kids. And that same role was what they were forced to have to take. Oh my god. Guys, there was a few times that I had to stop reading because their mom would piss me off because she would just come and go all nonchalant and happy and radiant and like really just rubbing her happiness all in her children's face. Like, she would go in there and talk about her day and what she did, and oh my god, you know, like, I'm almost winning my father. Then to come back and tell them, yeah, but no, we need more time. But you know what? It doesn't matter how you guys feel. You know, like, it's all about me, me, me. Like, oh my god, she was just so, like, such an egomaniac. Okay? Like, she pissed me off every time she would come. Every time it was like her part of coming in. Oh my gosh, I really could not stand her. And then the grandmother, she's just like this crazy religious woman, and she had all these strict rules, and she really hated the kids. And it was just the maternal roles that these women had was just like non-existent. All the things that happened to these children, I was just heartbroken. Okay, I was heartbroken. I felt so bad for them. I wanted to rescue them. I just wanted to rescue them and give them hugs and so much love. But what I will say about them is that I absolutely love how Kathy and Christopher, you know, try to survive everything and try to make themselves happy and make their younger siblings happy. They couldn't have the curtains open to see like the outside world like that. So they kind of brought the outside world to them since they couldn't go outside either. And to change everything according to the season and the holiday, it was just something else that was nice to see, but also again heartbreaking because they had to make do with what they had available to them. And it was just this story, it just really breaks my heart. The ending, when they find out everything that's really happening, it was like, oh my goodness, I just couldn't. Again, this was actually a reread, but for like freaking like years apart, because the last time I read this was in high school. I am so excited to see where everything goes in the next book, because I just want to see how they're doing and where their life goes after escaping the attic. I just want the best for them, you know? I am just rooting for them. So, let's bring up the uncomfortable topics in this, which is the electro love. Electro. I think I'm saying it right. AKA the incest that goes on in here. All right, guys. So that, of course, I mean, you should feel uncomfortable with that, right? It definitely leaves you feeling all those uncomfortable feelings, especially one, if you have siblings, and two, you just know that that's not correct, right? It definitely left me kind of like, of course I'm not for it, but at the same time, I can understand why it happens, because again, they are locked up in an attic, and they are playing these parental roles, and you know, literally, like their younger siblings view them, you know, like as mom and dad. So it's kind of like that whole Stockholm syndrome thing, but you know, of course, different. The whole psychology behind it just makes sense. And me taking psychology in undergrad and a few psychology classes, actually, I can understand that. I know as a teenager, I was like, ew, hell no, you know. And don't get me wrong, I still felt like that, you know. I still felt like, oh my god, no, don't do that, no, what are you doing? But again, I can understand the whole psychology and the psychological aspect of it, and why it led to those feelings happening and other things that happen in the story. I know that for a lot of people, they kind of can't stomach that part. So, you know, yeah, you kind of either have to get through it and deal with the uncomfortable feelings you're gonna feel, or you're just gonna not like the story because of that and not want to read it. I still love this story, even though, of course, now I can see a few little flaws here and there, but I still enjoyed the writing, I still enjoyed the pacing, and it was definitely a 5-star read for me. I know that there is some uncomfortable moments in this, and trust me, they are very uncomfortable. So this book, I will say that it has some major trigger warnings. There is child abuse, neglect, abandonment, starvation. There's some religious themes in here. There's also electro love, aka incest, going on. There is talk of suicide as well. However, I will say that it's not followed through. It's more like just saying certain things in reference to suicide. You also see, you know, like the effects of kind of like generational abuse, I guess you can kind of say. If you decide to pick up this book, just know that there are trigger warnings, and they are pretty strong emotions that you are going to feel from reading this. But yeah, I still very much enjoy VC Andrews as an author, and I still will continue to love her books and continue reading from my VC Andrews collection. And it's a pretty big one, and I love VC Andrews books. And yeah, it just confirmed it after reading this one. Those are all the books I read in April. I'm really happy with the outcome and the results for the books I chose to read. If you read any of these and have something to say, please comment down below. If you're thinking about reading any of these, let me know too. Like, you know, as usual, all the links will be listed down below as well for you to easily pick up one of these books if you plan on reading them. I am an Amazon affiliate, So I will have my Amazon links below. That helps me out as well. That supports the channel as well. Supports your girl. And you already know, another way to support your girl, make sure you subscribe if you're not subscribed yet. I am going to be bringing some more bookish content, of course, and some fitness stuff. So if you guys are interested in any particular topic when it comes to fitness, comment that down below as well, because I am thinking of some things I want to talk about in regards to fitness. But if you have anything that you'd like to hear, yes, I want to know so I can bring that out for you. And as usual, thank you guys for watching. Until next time, bye.